Okay, second attempt. My apologies if you got a notification and then there was nothing there the first time. Really hoping that everything is working as it should this time around. I'm still a couple of minutes early. This is why I show up early, because things don't always happen exactly when you want them to. Oh, okay, it's working. Hooray! I can see on my other screen that I definitely am show up early because... Just turn my sound off over there. But I'm definitely here. Welcome. If you're watching on the replay, please do leave me a little message, #replay. I don't have a plan. This is just about sort of making myself accountable. I've promised to show up, so I am. And this is how I approach my journal work, my art practice, hopefully on a kind of a daily basis. What I will tell you is that yesterday or last night I started 3 paintings and trashed all 3 of them, got rid of them. So I've no idea what's going to happen today, which is a little bit scary, because normally I paint a little bit before I go live, and then I feel kind of nice and relaxed and hopefully confident. But the magic will happen, or it won't, and we'll figure it out together. So I really hope that you enjoy this. Before we start, this was eventually what came out yesterday. She's still got a very long way to go, but I just thought I'd share that with you. As you can see, there's many layers. I had to kind of keep going back over it until I got into my flow. But that's all part of the fun, and sometimes it happens. I don't know if I was just a little bit off colour or a little bit tired maybe, but anyway, things didn't quite go as I had planned. I'm going to draw or paint mixed media portrait. That's my comfort zone. That's the only thing closest to a plan that I have for this session, and I'll try to keep you informed as to what paints I'm using. I've got a whole bunch of kind of partly used paints on my palette. I've just added a few more, whole mix of colours. This is a water soluble pencil. This is an aquarelle in black. I was going to use charcoal and then kind of set it into place with acrylic medium, but there's a bit of a time constraint with doing that on these live sessions, so I'm not going to do that. We're going to use the pencil. I've got a whole bunch of brushes because I don't know which ones I'm going to want. I've even got my palette knife, and there's plenty of fresh water and a whole sense of adventure. So let's dive in. I'm just going to start with, let's get some basics down and just loosen up. Just start with a lovely oval shape to begin to build up a face. My page is primed with gesso as well. I apologise, I forgot to say that. It's my preference. I'm working in my journal. There's a little bit of tape across the bottom there just to stop the pages from moving around as I'm working. You don't need to do that. I just think it's probably annoying for anyone who's watching on camera if the pages are kind of wobbly. So I take that down to keep it nice and still. And just evening off those sides, looking to see that they are symmetrical, and then we'll come a little bit straighter across the bottom of the chin there. So really just feeling the way, keeping it really loose, holding the pencil from the top, and just letting that build up gradually as I kind of loosen up. I've been super busy moving furniture around today. Ironically, I moved things around so that I could work on some projects that I've got going whilst still watching the TV in the evenings, and which seemed like a good idea, because otherwise I just watch TV and don't do anything, because it means sitting with my back to my TV the way that I had it set up. So I turned everything around and fixed it up so that I could see the TV, which meant kind of mirror flipping the room, which was involved moving a very big dresser, which wasn't a lot of fun, but I managed it, and I just about finished, and I moved the dresser back because it was too far from the wall, and my TV fell off. So I've turned everything around so I can see the TV, and I've broken my TV. So I'll be doing loads of work in the evenings now because I don't have that to distract me. So centre line down the middle of the face there, and then a horizontal centre line going across that to give me some guidance. Halfway between, we're doing just a face that is kind of looking straight at me. Halfway between this, where these two meet, and the chin, I'm going to put another line in. These are loose guides, you can move them around, you can adjust them a little bit. I'm going to come a little bit higher than halfway down. I might have my centre line a little bit too low there, but I do eyeball everything, because I think that whoever comes through, whoever shows up here is meant to be, and they all have different expressions and different faces and different things to say. So that little line there, which is slightly less than halfway between the crossover line and the chin, and then between here and the chin, another little line, and that will be where the lips meet. So this is where the mouth is going to be. This little line is for the kind of the bottom edge of the nose. We just put a little circle in there. Keep that really simple. And then eyes, obviously they don't start right on the outside. I'm not going to do any more measuring other than let's have a little mark here, one here and one here, which is sort of just outside. If you think about the edge of the nose coming out just a little bit further, and then the corner of the eye is going to be just either level with that nostril or maybe just outside of it. And the distance between them is also going to be the size of the eye. So I'm just feeling the way here. This could all adjust and change. Haven't even decided if these eyes are going to be open or closed quite yet. So really just feeling the way and letting her tell me the story. So a little bit of guidance for the mouth. I'm just kind of going to keep it a neutral expression. I'm going with what feels easy to me today, because this is playtime coming out and showing up in your journal. So this is just kind of practice and playtime for me. And like I say, I did some battle yesterday trying to kind of force myself to create. And actually I ended up stepping away for a while and just priming up some canvases and relaxing that way and going back to it. And that was when that other painting that I just showed you happened. But today I just want this to be really gentle, but hopefully informative as well, and something that inspires you to try yourself. So this is just a slight curve here for the middle of the upper lip, and I'm just going to put these little markers in either side as well. Again, I'm just eyeballing it. They may not be exactly level with the eyes there. I'm coming a little bit wider than where the eyes are going to be. If you just think about, the eyes are going to be sitting on this line, let's just mark them in. So it's a little less than halfway, so you're not quite smiling. I'm just going for quite a neutral expression. And then I'm going to curve just gently the other way. You can see straight away that the right side is perhaps a little wider than the left, but all of that will fix itself as we go. And then for that lower lip, I'm going to mirror this little curve here, just a little tiny curve, and then take that up, not quite out to the corners. That lower lip is just going to be somewhere inside of there. So the lip line is on that line that I first showed you. And lips have a kind of cushion, so you're going to have like a center cushion here, and then either side of that there's also a cushion either side as well. So I'm just going to put in a little line, which I don't want to draw those in, but just suggests those cushions, and that really helps to just give a shape to the mouth. And you can see straight away, just with that kind of straight, almost straight, it's very slightly curving up and going into those dimples either side. Already there's a neutral expression happening there. And let's think about hair. Just want something fairly easy. I think we'll give her kind of an updo. So not as direct in the centre parting. I like to offset it slightly because no one has that perfect centre parting, and kind of like them to have quite wild, free hair. But I think we'll take it just away from the face. I'm not going to worry about ears. We're going to cover that up and take that hair as if it's kind of pinned back behind the head. So it's just a suggestion of that for now, and the brushes will do all the rest of the work on that. And then bring that hair up. It comes up higher than the top of the head. Bring that up over here, sweep it back, just suggesting that her hair has kind of been pinned back away from her face, and a lovely soft loose do, which always looks really easy, and then when you try and do it, well, if you've got masses of curls like I have, then it's pretty much impossible to get anything to look like it's supposed to. You just have to go with it. Maybe we'll have a few curls hanging down there. We'll see what happens with that. But we're just sort of suggesting that in. So as the hair kind of curves back behind, I'm just making that a little bit darker. And the same over this side. It just gives me a little bit of a guide. It could change. Maybe we'll change it. Maybe she'll end up with long hair. But that's kind of how it's feeling today. So we've covered up those ears. We've pinned the hair back. Got a few strands that are going to come down. I'm not going to worry about eyebrows just yet, because the whole expression of the face will change as I go along. Let's get some water on this and make it a little bit more interesting. I can't see, because I've got my phone at what I seemed like a really good angle for you, so you see the screen, and I've zoomed it in slightly as well, but it does mean I can't see comments. So if you're leaving me comments and saying hi, I'm not ignoring you, I just can't see them right now. If you've any questions about the supplies that I use, just drop them in the comments. I will obviously visit all of that later on and make sure that I answer everyone. I'm just activating this this lovely water-soluble pencil. Because it's on gesso as well, it moves really easily because it doesn't really soak into the paper, it kind of sits on top of it. Let's let that shadow under the chin there happen as well. And that blends out all my loose lines. If you've been here before, you know I'm not a huge fan of erasers, and not that this would erase very easily anyway, because it's not a graphite pencil. But I really like, in my journal, I like to let the underdrawing kind of show through. I get rid of it, like a little bit of it. I will wash out my lines there, just down the middle of the face. I'm going to lift that out. If you don't prime the page, it'll be really hard to get rid of your guidelines. So gesso is always your friend. I do, when I paint in my journal, I do, before I go on when I finish up, sorry, I'll get those words out. When I finish up on one piece, I usually go ahead, usually get that dry and go ahead and prime the next page, maybe a couple more pages, so that when I come back to it, it's ready to take plenty of media, whatever I want to throw on there. Just tweaking those a little bit so that they're roughly in line with each other. Whoops. And it looks like the eyes are going to be closed. I don't feel inclined to open those up right now, so maybe that's meant to be today. This is certainly me looking for some peace, which I never cease to feel when I show up and work in my journal. Let's activate all of this, and then I'll be ready to come in with a little bit of colour. Take the brush, rinse the brush for the lower lip, because that needs to be a little bit lighter where the light would be catching it, assuming that the light is coming down from the top. And loving how this you get this kind of really loose patterning happening where the water is just sitting on the top, and where the pigment has been activated, it's kind of running into each other. on the edges there. I love those, the way that happens. It's not something you can predict, and it helps to really keep things kind of loose and light. Okay, let's get some colour on this face. Now I'm going to go in with, start with, I think this is yellow, yeah, this is yellow oxide. I know it's off camera, but it was better to zoom in a bit closer so that you could see what was happening. And I'm going to put some, this is just a light wash, not that wet, so let's dry my brush a little bit. Keeping the movement really, really loose. I'm holding the brush from the top, I'm holding it near the end of the handle as well, not getting too tight. We're just going to put some shading in around the edges of the face there. So as the shape of the face kind of curves away from you, that's going to be a little more shaded. And let's bring some in onto the eye sockets as well, because obviously that goes inwards as well. This is just the first layer. I don't want to go in, never want to go in with my kind of darkest colour. I always save my darkest and lightest colours for later on when things have really developed, because once you've gone as dark as you can and as light as you can, there's nowhere else to go. And I really love to play with colour and just see what happens in my portraits. I'm going in now into some turquoise. And let's bring a little bit of turquoise into her hair, so we've got some colour going on there. Always mindful of the time limits as well with these lives, so there may not be any background on this. I might come back and add some background in later. I think it's more important to just get the whole thing kind of going. I can see there's a little number at the top, so I can see there's a few people watching, so thank you so much for showing up live. And if you join later or you're coming in, you missed the start, so you decide to wait for the replay, just leave me a little comment. A lot of talk lately about the number of adverts on Facebook, and just appreciating the fact that if you go onto Facebook and you just go to your groups, there's no ads. So I hope you're all kind of finding your way here without becoming too frustrated with the feed or lack of interest in your feed. Don't give up. We're still here doing our thing, and it's really important to just bring something that is fun and value. I'm going in now to some cadmium yellow and a little bit of white, and we're going to add some highlights just into the hair there. I've left that parting for now because that's going to be probably darker, but I don't want to go in too dark or too light, so I'm staying with mid-tones and building up those mid-tones slowly as I go. So that cadmium has got, I've got a little bit of the turquoise still on my brush, and obviously it's wet on the page as well. So I'm just letting that do its thing. I just want to give the impression of that hair kind of sweeping back. Let's go into a slightly darker turquoise now. I don't know what this is. I can probably tell you deep turquoise. It's a Galeria, so it's a slightly thicker density of paint, but certainly no black as yet. The only black is that wash of pencil, which is, now we've activated it, it's actually quite grey. Just darken in that parting there. By hopping in and doing a little bit of colour on the hair there, that has hopefully given this some time to dry, so I can add another colour. This is a salmon, I can't find the tube now, I'll tell you what it is. Pale terracotta, 1 Newton. It's not my favourite quality of paint. I find it a little bit, it's a bit thin, it's not very heavily pigmented. But we need to get like a mid-tone happening there. That yellow's really warmed it. So let's just bring some of that in to get some tone happening on the skin there. Not forgetting the neck, which is something I do forget from time to time. Still working with the flat brush. And let's try not to bring blue in a little bit there. That's fine, because we're going to have a whole bunch of colour here. We're not going for realism. I'll add some white into that terracotta, and so the same shade, just a little bit lighter down the centre here, and it's a bit denser as well, which is nice. But not losing too much of the underdrawing as yet. As it kind of builds, we can lose that, we don't need to worry too much about it. So either side of the nose, obviously, that it comes up, that the shape of the face comes up onto the bridge of the nose. So I've added more white there because it's lighter, and across that top lip, bit too much paint on the brush there. Got that lighter tone, picking up some of the black there, that's fine, we'll fix that later. This is the white mixed with that pale terracotta, so it's a little bit lighter there. And I love a slightly pouty mouth. If you've seen any of my other portrait paintings, you know they've often got a really sassy pout going on. So just below there, below the edge of the corners there, that's again a lighter tone. This is the terracotta mixed with some white. I'm honestly not sure if my white is white gesso or white acrylic, but either will do, especially if you're working in your journal. Let's add another kind of lighter tone onto the little button of the nose there, and either side as well onto those nostrils. Ready for another colour. She's looking super bland at the moment. Let's just get some of that terracotta down onto the neck. I get so caught up with the portrait itself, I do forget to bring those same colours down through into the neckline sometimes. So just fix that slightly and try not to forget that next time. Let's go back into, let's go with some pink, because I love pink. I love to bring in pinks. This is, I think it's a rose pink. I don't know where the tube is to confirm that. But I do know that these cheeks are going to have some pink on them. So this is really just getting playful now with the colour. It's kind of leaning into abstract just a little bit, building tons of layers. My favourite way to work, my favourite way to play. Let's have a little bit of shade beneath these eyes as well. And as the shape of the face kind of disappears into the hair there, around the side of the head, we'll darken that too. Oh, I forgot to talk then. I was just enjoying that pink so much. I'm adding a little bit of white into that pink and highlighting the top of the cheeks there. And whilst I've got that light pink there as well, let's add a little pink to the tip of the nose too. I'm not even rinsing my brush. I'm going to go straight into that first turquoise, the bright turquoise, and bring some of that in. So we've got loads of colour happening now, and I'm going to use that same. So we've got this lovely lavender tone happening. There's a bit of white on the brush, a little bit of pink, and a little bit of turquoise. It's giving that lavender tone. Let's get some of that down into that shadow onto the chin as well. It looks a little bit crazy now, right? It's all going to work, it's fine. So just, it's kind of like feeling the way and finding out who's kind of, I always think of them as kind of hiding away in the page or in the brushes. So this is the dark turquoise, the deep turquoise again, Kind of wanted to go in under the nose there, but it's a little bit too strong for that just yet. And I'm just eyeballing it. I'm at a little bit of an odd angle, but I think those lovely soft eyes are fairly even. I've switched to, it's not a small brush, it's just a round brush, and I'm kind of squeezing it flat before I go into the paint. Back into that pink. Let's add some darker pink on that upper lip, maybe a little bit at the bottom of the nose there as well. And then that same darker pink into the darker turquoise, and we'll deepen those eye sockets just to keep that shape going. I think it's time to break out the palette knife. This is just a super cheap palette knife. I have got metal ones, but you don't need fancy ones. These are kind of, I've just got a whole bunch of these because they were super cheap, and I love to just bring them out and play in my journal, keeping things really loose. I want a lighter. This is the yellow. It's got a little bit of turquoise in there, and I want a lighter tone to the middle of the forehead there, where the light is catching at the centre of the forehead. I'm going to bring a little bit of that onto the top of the nose there and the top of those cheeks. Just see how you cannot get too tight working with a palette knife. It's going to keep things really loose. And let you build up those colours and really have some fun with how everything just interacts together. A little bit more cadmium yellow, so this is a stronger green now. Let's have a little, just a touch of that on the outside and towards the inner corner of her eyes. And I think that's kind of a mid-tone. I think we can probably bring that in, make too much mess. Just probably bring that in for that little shadow under the nose there and under the mouth as well. And this is under the chin. I'm going in under the chin now too. Just picking up a little bit and pulling that down, and that really brings in some lovely, lovely shadow. It's juicy. Add some white into that same green, so it's not a pure white, it's a slightly off-white, sort of a very bright lime tone. And let's get some white, some highlights in centre of the eyelids, top of the cheek, coming down that nose from the centre of the forehead. Let's have a little bit on those nostrils as well. Almost ready to maybe bring some crayon in. I'm thinking oil pastels perhaps. Again, they're really instant and quick. You can't be too precise with them. They work so well with acrylics. They're definitely one of my favourite things. Just add a little bit more accent to the highlight there in the hollow of the eyes. I want to bring some more pink in as well. It's gone too precise. That's better. And beneath as well. Make sure we've got colour everywhere. So I've lost some of my yellow tones. Come back in with the cadmium yellow. Turn in the brush. So they're really painterly loose marks. And building up the colours on top of each other. So almost like you're kind of moulding it with the paint. And thinking about where the light is going to hit, where you're going to put those lighter colours. Down the centre of the forehead and down the nose there. And the edge of those nostrils, again, a little bit more lighter colour. Before I break out those oil pastels, let's have a little bit more of the pink and white just on the edge of the lower lip, and then darker pink going into that on that upper lip. Still a few little places where I've just got my pencil, but that's going to disappear under these layers as we go. Just a little bit of that dark pink around those edges there. Not actually loving, I went too heavy there with these kind of curly bits hanging down, so I might have to play around with that in a minute, but let's see what happens. I've just got these were just here from the other piece that I was working on. So I've got a whole mix of oil pastels here, whoops, and a mix of brands as well. I've got a birthday this month, so I'm kind of thinking I might treat myself to some new oil pastels. These are just, sorry, I'm waving them about and you can't see them. It's just a mixture of, I've got some lovely sort of pinky salmon tones there, a nice bold pink, that's a Sennelier, which is a really beautiful quality, and the same there's a terracotta, which will go really well with my dark terracotta there, and then a dark one as well, black for some accents, white, which may or may not work on this. My page is going to be quite wet, and also really lovely, that's kind of like maybe a sort of pumpkin shade or a cadmium orange. They're all, like I say, they're a variety of brands. Oh, and this one, which that is, you can tell it's my favourite because there's hardly any of it left. I have got another one, but I'm determined to use up the bits first. This is also Sennelier in a really bright turquoise, and I absolutely love it. So I'm just going to add in some detailing with those. It's fairly dry. Maybe we'll just have a little bit of fun with the hair with my turquoise before I go in on the face, because what I don't want to do is have to use my hairdryer while we're kind of live on air here. So it's just no fun, is it? Listening to me blasting my dryer. The oil pastels just add such an amazing texture, and it's softened that. I don't really like what's happened over there. In fact, what I might try to do, if this is gesso, what we'll try to do is just push some of that back, and as that dries I'll be able to go over that and fix quite. I've just got a little bit too much hair hanging down there. It just looks weird. It looks more like earrings than hair. So I've said this 1,000 times. If you've ever been here before, you've heard me say it. Gesso is your friend. You could pretty much fix everything. And if it goes really wrong, just gesso it, put a bunch of collage over the top, gesso it, and start over. So you know you're never stuck. I've got to let that dry now, so I can't do any more with my turquoise on her hair. Have a little bit now. The beauty with oil pastels is you get like a broken mark. It's not a solid mark, so I can use this black without worrying about it sort of overwhelming what's going on underneath. It adds a texture, but without, I don't want a solid black line there, because that's not really what a parting is going to look like, but it's enough to suggest texture in that hair. I'm really just playing around with this, letting the paints on the face dry some as well, but it's all got to be done. Just, you know, she's going to have hair as well, but I perhaps wouldn't do it in this order. If I might stop and dry the face before carrying on, if I wasn't working kind of on a live session. Let's have it a little bit more. That's better. Let's just soften that. And obviously when I put in a background, depending on whether I have time to do that today, that will also fix some of these kind of messy bits that we've got going on there. But it doesn't matter that it's not perfect. I came here to play and to be present and to show up in my journal. I do need to put some black on this face at some point, but not quite yet. I'm not ready to take things quite that far yet. This is still quite wet. Let's go in with some pink. So let's define the eyes just a little bit more, the eye socket. I do recommend drying the surface if you're using oil pastels over acrylics. So we'll get a bit sticky. This is very soft because it's the Sennelier. so it'll kind of go on even if the paint's a bit wet, but even then I'm struggling because I've got quite a lot of paint down right now. But I'm just going to let that be a part of what happens, and go with the flow. She will be whoever she is meant to be. A little bit more pink on the tip of that nose, maybe go around the nostrils, just beneath the nostrils there as well. And let's bring in some of this lovely pink texture on that top lip. Not right the way up to the top, I don't want a flat colour, just close to the lip line. And while we're looking at that, let's also, this is a very, not very dark, but it's a much darker terracotta tone. And I'm going to use that at the lower edge of the top lip line as well. Take that out. And just using oil pastels like this just keeps it really loose. Excuse me sniffing. Harming out those eyes. And a little bit more colour to define the edge of that. And I remembered this time to do the left hand side first and then go over to the right, because I can't move my pad because then you can't see what I'm doing. But if you're left handed, do the right one first. If you're right handed, do the left one first, because then when you move your hand across, you're not blocking it. It makes it a lot easier to kind of line them up and make them look at least a little bit similar to each other. This is lovely over these really bright colours. It's just pushing them back just enough, and my paints are dry enough now that I can push some of that pastel into itself, so it's blending slightly as well. And see how that's creating depth at the edge of the face. There's a little bit more definition there now. My page is wrinkling up a little bit, so it's not quite as weird a shape as it looks perhaps when you're looking down at it on the camera. Let's have a little bit more around this edge. So we've got some shadow around the edges of the face as it goes into the hair. I hope that's making sense. And definitely under the chin here, we want some of this deeper shadows, because the neck is further back, obviously, so you want quite a firm definition between the chin and the neck. And one of my favourite ways of doing that actually is using my palette knife. So we'll come back to that in a little bit. And I think let's do a little more, let's see if the white will work on her hair. I really like some more texture there. So it just trying to think about what this hairstyle is actually doing. It's kind of almost been swept back and pinned. That was my idea of what her hairstyle was. So I'm just trying to express that, but I don't have a reference, so I'm just making that up. The white adds a lovely little bit of texture there, and I can come in over that terracotta so that it's not too harsh of a line. And the lovely thing with the oil pastels as well is that when the face is done, when I've got enough colour on there that kind of feel that she's as complete as she's going to be today, a few little lines of oil pastel just coming down over the face in this either black or white or even the turquoise will give the impression of just a few little loose strands of hair, which is what this was going to be, but I've kind of overdone it. I put way too much pigment on there when I did that, got carried away. She's looking nice and calm, which is good. It's making me feel calm, which I love. I want to come here and feel calm. White oil pastel on that lower lip so that it's catching some light, but not, it's not solid, which is lovely because you don't want tons of it, not yet. We're not ready for that yet. The bulb of the chin, again, the light is going to catch that. And I will want to go a little darker under the chin there. Do I do that with pastel or paint? I think we'll probably do that with paint. I'm going to use the oil pastel on the top of that lip there, that little curve there, because that would catch some light. And just I'm wiping it on my hand like my hand is going to clean it. It's probably going to make it dirtier. But I'm just taking off any pigment that it's picked up on my hand there and just adding a little bit so that the light is catching. As I've said before, I like them to have a bit of pout, a bit of attitude there. Put a bit of that white. No, I'm not going to do that. I was going to put some white oil pastel on the eyelids there just to highlight that a bit more, but I'm going to do it with paint because this is too wet and it's lifting it out. Let's have a little bit on those nostrils there. I think that's dry enough. And the kind of the bulb of the nose, like the tip of the nose is a ball, so we're really going to emphasize that and bring some white highlight down the bridge of the nose there. Maybe lighten this a little bit as well. I'm keeping it kind of loose and scribbly because there's lots more to come yet. She says, checking the time. Oh, I think we're okay. I don't think Facebook is going to throw us off quite yet. Let's get back into some paint and layer some of this acrylic over the oil pastel. So I just want to fix this because I did pull some paint off. So this is the white mixed with turquoise and a little bit of cadmium yellow. I've gone back to my flat brush, keeping it kind of loose and broken and letting the way that these layers build up tell the story. The brow bone here, we don't have eyebrows in yet, but we kind of know roughly where they're going to be. So the brow bone here is going to be lighter. So let's have a little bit, while we've got that light colour on the brush, let's have a little bit of highlight there. And maybe across the top as well. That needs to be just a little bit lighter. I'll get a few marks by using the brush kind of loose and quick. You get a few random marks that happen. There's a little bit of white there, and just leave it to do its thing. If it needs to disappear later, then we'll fix that. But sometimes those little marks are exactly what was meant to be. Trust that. This is a pale pink. I'm mixing it with a little bit of white as well. And I'm going to bring that in around the sides of the nose. Just soften some of those marks that have happened. And because I've used it there, let's have a little bit on that lower lip as well. The page is buckling, which is annoying me a little bit. But we'll ignore that. Pretend that's not happening. And a little bit of pink there, just accenting those eyes a touch more. Yellow's magic because it's a highlight without being white. See how that just highlights, just adding a little bit of that cadmium yellow in there. And beneath the nose there, we want a little bit of a shadow of the nose. This is it's a kind of a mucky green. I've added a little bit of yellow and white into that turquoise, and I'm going to put a bit of a shadow there. That's probably too dark. That's okay, because we can push that back with some of the light pink. And I think a little of that flesh tone as well. It's still doing its job, just pushed it back a little bit. I do love pink. I'll never grow tired. I'll never grow out of dolls or pink. Just won't. Broken marks on the top of the cheekbone. Let's highlight the tip of the nose just a little more. It's very green in that shadow there, so we're going to add a little bit of pink on there as well. I'm being quite light-handed with it now, being quite gentle. not enough turquoise happening for me, so I'm going to go back into my darker turquoise. I haven't rinsed my brush. I'm just going to add a little bit of that along that lash line there. We'll bring it into the suggestion of nostrils as well, which will probably require some black, but I don't want obviously like flat black holes there as nostrils, so let's use that darker turquoise instead. And then it just needs a tiny bit of black. There's your shadow under the lip there, and then I'm grabbing my palette knife again and a little bit more of that deep turquoise. I'm going to use the palette knife just to lay in some shadow beneath the neckline. Sorry, beneath the chin, just going into the neck there. It's a bit too dark, so we'll push that back with some of that lovely pink. So like a smaller brush. I think we're ready for some white accents. So this now I've come up to the pure white, which I've kind of saved for later on, because like I say, if you go in with a pure white too early on or a pure black too early on, you've got nowhere to go. So I always save my lightest light and my darkest dark for later, when things have started to take shape, and try and build up all of these tones and shades using sort of mid-tones, and this is where it just I can really start to play. I'm bringing some of the very bright pink, bring some of the very bright pink into the turquoise. So it's given me another lavender tone, but it's a darker one. And I'm just going to have a little bit of fun with this. We've got some pink here happening, it's sort of in the cheekbones, in the hollows of the cheeks there. So let's have a little bit of fun with that and just bring in some abstract marks. I'm not going to shade it with flat lines. Let's just play. And because it's on the cheeks, I'll have a little bit on the neck there as well. And let's have just a little bit in the corner of the eye there, where that's going to be darkest. And I guess it's a little darker than that turquoise that we had there too, so let's have it there. And a touch, weirdly, on this upper lip. That really shadows that. Let's go back with these oil pastels now. Sorry, I don't want to move it too much. It's automatic to grab my pad and drag it towards me. I'll have a little bit more pink around there. So that terracotta is kind of standing on its own. A little more on that upper lip. Not all of that purple is going to show through, but it's given it a really lovely shade. It's given it a lovely shape. I think we're ready to bring in some black. This is too purple now to use. I just so love this colour. This is just magic. Soften some of that purple with some turquoise. Soft touch of it there as well. It's kind of magic because when you have a highlight that's too white, this will actually makes it look whiter without it being flat. So that little highlight there across the eye, a little touch of that turquoise there, I love it. It doesn't explain it very well, I just love it. Let's have a little bit of that turquoise on the highlight on the brow bone as well. And then I think about ready for some black, which is when it gets really serious. What I am going to do first of all is just because I'm working on wet paint, which isn't ideal, it's not too bad, but just in case it goes wrong, I'm going to sketch in the brows with my pencil first. If I was just working, playing in my journal, I'd probably just freewheel it with the oil pastel straight away. But I can move that and tilt it and all that kind of stuff. So I can't do that here because we'd go off camera. So I'm just playing it safe. And what that means is, as I said, don't erase, but what that does mean is I could wet this and lift it out if I wasn't happy with where those eyebrows were. But I think they're a nice neutral shape. It's not a big arch up. It's not a big frowny eyebrow down either. Decisions are what colour it might be. Let's try a turquoise to kind of go with that hair. It might need to be a little bit darker. So I've just grabbed another brush. It's just a slanted brush. The only reason I've done that is because it's dry. I haven't had it in water yet. So I've just gone straight into the paint because those little bristle marks are part of what makes them look soft and like brows. And then we'll go into the lighter turquoise. Again, I haven't moistened the brush, it's just a dry brush, straight into the paint. May not be dark enough. We'll see when I get some black in around the eyes. It may need a little touch of black. But what I will do, if I add any black into that, it will be with the oil pastel and not with a paint, because a paint is too solid. I want nice broken marks now. I'm going to go straight in with that oil pastel and fix that lash line. So it's just a gentle curve and then down into the corner of the eye. And I started on the left because then I can see what I'm doing. If it doesn't work out symmetrical, it's fine. It's just who she's meant to be. But obviously it really helps if you can see what you've done this side when you come over here. Tiny bit of black. I don't want to stick my head in the way of the camera. I think I can just do it. So it's just a little tiny bit of black in that nostril there. That may still be too much. No, that's okay. It's working. We can tweak that, just neaten that off with a little bit of paint. And I'm going to go along the lip line as well. I'm just holding that page down because it's buckling slightly. It might be to do with the way that I taped it, but I think I've also got it quite wet. So the corners, definitely, I want those to be dark because they're kind of dimpling in. And then just a light touch on that lip line. A little shadow there. Having got that black in, we probably can have a layer of black on those brows as well. I think we're nearly there. I think I'm kind of ready to let her rest. I probably have got time to put some background in. First of all, there's a lot of pink happening here, not so much this side. So before I put kind of final tweaks in on that nose, I'm just going to go in with the bright pink and add just a bit. It doesn't have to match, but it needs to balance, if that makes sense. So we're not looking for symmetry, we're looking for balance. And I do love just a little bit of pink. Works for me every time. Let's have a little on that neck as well to make sure that the colours are all, it's all cohesive. And then this is my, show you, this is the pale terracotta. I'm going to add some white in there. Looking at this, I'm pretty sure that the white I'm using is gesso, not white acrylic. I couldn't remember. So yesterday was a bit of a day, so I had quite a lot happening on the palette. I'm just neatening off those where those nostrils are just a little bit too strong, and then that pink just making that work. It's a tiny little bit pink. Just filling that in because we've got a bit of white showing up there. White highlights. Again on the edge of the lash line there, tiny little bits of white. I'm not worried if there's the same amount on the brush each side. Let's have the light hitting the tip of the nose there. And a little bit more hitting the top of the lip there, just below the philtrum, so that that goes in and then the lip comes out. Not enough white on my brush. Being too light-handed with it. Let's have the light hitting this lower lip as well. You can still see a couple of little spaces there where I haven't quite filled in the paint. So coming in with the yellow, because yellow is kind of blends with everything and it warms the skin tone, just having that little touch of yellow on there as well. Just a little bit too yellow on the forehead there as I'm looking at it, so I'm going to just put some very light pink marks over it to balance that out. And the brow bone here, oh, we highlighted that. Let's highlight that just a little bit further. And then I think I'm ready to let her rest. I hope you're feeling inspired. I hope you're grabbing all your supplies. You don't have to have the same supplies by any means. Just use what you have, play around with them. If you haven't used oil pastels before, you've tried them and found them clunky and difficult, I didn't use them for years and I absolutely love them now. You just need to kind of get to know them, I guess, and make them work for you, but they can do amazing things. Darken that with a touch of turquoise. I always get to this point where I say, yeah, that's done, and then I carry on talking and tweaking. I'm going to add some yellow on the tops. I love these purple marks, but they're very dark, they're quite sort of sudden, so I'm going to soften that and put some yellow onto my highlights there. This is cadmium yellow mixed with a little bit of white. Probably be a little bit yellower in there as well. And if I'm really quick, I can come back with that same colour that I started with, which was, looking for it again, this is transparent yellow oxide. And I'm going to lay that quickly over the background, just because she's just so full of colour. Having some colour background on here makes me happy. And because this is my journal, what I will probably do when this is all dried and done is perhaps come back and add some writing around this, or if there's a particular word that I want to focus on, I've got this lovely page ready to come back and add some written journaling if that's what I feel like doing, or not. Maybe just showing up here and creating something that didn't exist until I sat down. There's just a magic to that, and there's never a time when that doesn't feel good. It always feels better, even when I guess sometimes showing up can feel like a little bit like too much effort. I won't have a problem with that this week because I've got no TV. There'll be a lot of painting happening, I expect. I think I'm ready to stop. Thank you so much for watching. There will be a replay. Leave me a comment if you watch on the replay. Have fun. I hope you have a go. If you do, then please do share it. So you kind of see what's happening there. And I will put a photo up when she is dry as well. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this. These sessions will be up for a few days here in the Facebook group, and then I will add them onto my YouTube channel, and this will stay there. This is completely free. This is just, it's as much a commitment for me, just showing up and doing this for myself, and sharing. This is not something that you're going to have to pay for later on. This is not a sales pitch. If you want to return to it, then it will be available on YouTube for as long as YouTube is there, which hopefully is a very long time. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to pop in and have a look at the comments now. I can see there are a few things coming in. Thank you so much. Have fun. I will speak to you soon.